Yeah, I don't. Hmm? They're not my slides. I didn't write them. Okay. So this is now the LAMPS working group, and Sean has decided that he wants to volunteer to take minutes for me. Yeah. This is probably like going to be the easiest meeting to take minutes in. If they have more than 5 lines, I'm going to be surprised. Okay. So this is the LAMPS working group. The Note Well, which everybody at this point in here probably has seen at least once. There's the agenda. So we've got, we managed to take care of the first half. Anyone who wants to add, subtract, remove, change things in the agenda, now's the time to speak up. You can read the agenda. It all fits on one slide. Is Phil here? I haven't seen him.
No, remote.
Oh, okay. So, first presentation. Oh, actually, that's me. Never mind, that's me still. So, issues. The I-18N update. Basically, it's ready to go to. I think it's still stuck with Ecker, and it's just a question of getting it to the IETF at this point, IESG at this point. The 2 SMIME updates are currently stuck on me. I need to finish dealing with the AD review comments. With any luck, I'll manage to get that done by the end of this week, and then we can. Then Ecker can sit on it for a while and then send it to IESG for review. The 2 of us been alternating, not managing to not get to this document and finish it. So.
So, I mean, so I-18N actually has been approved by the IESG, and it's just we're waiting for the approved announcement to be sent.
Okay. Right. So I'm excused for not actually knowing that was the status. So neither of the authors of the I-18 draft are actually here. They've done some changes. They've done a few edits to deal with things, and as you've said, this one's now ready for publishing. So, okay. So, Phil, you're up next.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jim, just for clarification, the I-18N document, the 5280 Rev,
Oh, sorry.
5280 Rev
is
has
not
been
yet.
approved. The EAI document, I put on the telechat for like
Right.
a month from now or something.
Ping them.
Huh?
Ping them. I don't know where it is.
Why don't we just be one person per slide?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Why not?
So we designed this thing, we screwed it up, and now we're fixing
Yeah, that's more or less what it says.
Yeah, perfect example. Going once.
Okay, well, let's skip this until he manages to come back, and we can get someplace. So,
He's trying to get through.
okay. We're not exactly overloaded for needing time.
So I'm putting the minutes.
Yeah, okay, so let's just skip over. Okay. So, Jacob?
Hi, yeah. So if it's useful, I can give a summary of the issue while Philip's trying to connect, because I've been pretty involved in it too. And I have a draft out addressing some of the issues. So, published an individual draft called CAA, which I hope to see adopted as the beginning of a working document for the working group. What happened at the CA Browser Forum, which is the self-regulating body for the CA industry, is we went to mandate CAA and discovered some ambiguities and infelicities in it. In particular, there's this tree climbing thing we do, where we go up, from the first label, the parent label, to the parent label, looking for CAA records. The way it was specified said that we should do some additional processing on C names and D names, and do that same tree climbing for those C names and D names. The downside of that is it creates a really huge number of lookups, and it creates these weird loops that cause ambiguities in terms of which CAA record you want to use. So the CA Browser Forum wound up adopting an erratum. So currently there's an erratum on CAA that says, just process C names normally. Don't do that special processing. And so you have a fixed number of lookups. If there are 3 labels in a domain name, you're going to do 3 lookups. Modulo the C name processing, which is handled by your recursive resolver. So this is a sort of awkward situation right now, where the CA Browser Forum has adopted this RFC plus an erratum that's held for document update. So one of the big things we'd like to do is actually do a document update that fixes that issue. What I have done in my CAA simplification draft is rewrite how that's specified. Part of it is that the specification, tried to get into the nitty-gritty of CNAME resolution when that's already handled by RFC 1034. So instead, it kind of shells out effectively to RFC 1034 and says, do your normal recursive resolver thing, say 3 times if you have 3 labels, and use the results for those. I'm not sure what else Philip wanted to address in his slides here. If he's ready, he can jump on. I wanted to flag one other thing, which the CA Browser Forum wound up kind of patching in, which is error handling. So right now, what's specified in the baseline requirements is that if you get an error during lookup, you can treat that as permission to issue, so long as it wasn't a DNSSEC-based error. I'm paraphrasing a bit. So it would also be useful for us to specify error handling in the IETF specification. Anyways, I'll see the screen now, so Philip can jump on and narrate his slides. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.
here it is. Okay, so you are now.
Okay, you getting sound?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so the basic problem with so if you go to the slide 2, the basic reason that we have to do all this bizarre discovery thing is some DNS records are private, and this isn't something that we can debate, they just are. And CAAs regularly issue for certificates that can't be seen on the public DNS. And so that's why there is the tree climbing algorithm in CAA in the first place. And the problem is that the CAA records are intended to be communication from the domain name holder to CA. So this is slide 3. Unfortunately, DNS records are published by domain name holders. So that might be directly or through a third party. And so CNAME is used to map a set of names onto a single target. It's also now used widely to delegate domain name holder to a third-party service provider. So this is what is done by MX and SRV for well-behaved protocols. Unfortunately, HTTP is not well-behaved because it was invented before SRV, and there's no MX record for it. So the basic problem with the discovery is you don't have the distinction in the DNS record telling you why that CNAME is there. So if we go to slide 4, the big complication is that DNAMEs aren't really DNS records. They're something else. They're really a sort of placeholder that goes in the zone file that is used to generate CNAME records on demand. Only the reason that it now appears on the wire is because of DNSSEC, and you need to be able to say why you synthesized a CNAME, and so DNAME appears on the wire. So CAA clients should be processing DNAMEs as part of the CNAME validation, but only really in terms of their DNSSEC validation. So if you've got an NSEC3 record that says that you should have had a DNAME, then you've got to understand that in your CAA code. If you've got a DNAME record that says that a CNAME should have been synthesized, you've got to understand that. And you've got to understand if the CNAME returned is valid, and then the CNAME returned is invalid. So those are all things that your code has to understand about when you do the CAA record processing with DNSSEC. But really, you're just working off the CNAMEs. I'll come back to this in a moment. Okay, so one of the big problems that we're working around is use of CNAME is restricted, because the idea is that so this is slide number 5. The idea is that you're delegating the entire zone. So you're not allowed to have anything else in a CNAME in the DNS. So that means that you aren't allowed to have a zone that has a CNAME and a CAA record. And that's the thing that gets us in trouble, because we have those administrative CNAMEs that are used for internal delegations, and then you've got those CDN DNAMEs that are used for external delegations, and you don't know which are which. And if you've got the CDN case, well, you can't put your CAA record at your zone anyway. So that was what led to the requirement that the CAA clients follow CNAME. I've got a couple of use cases. You can go to slide 6. So these use cases are showing 2 CNAMEs in series. So first of all, web.example.com is going to be CNAME to www.example.com, and that's an administrative internal redirect. And then we have www.example.com going off to cdn.example.net. And so that's the third-party redirect. So if you look at the original algorithms, this is slide 7. This is assuming that CNAME mappings are administrative. And so you have a discovery path. It starts at web.example.com. goes to www.example.com, then goes off to cdn.example.net. And that's really not something that you would like to do. The first two were fine. That's what you want. The next one, example.net, that is really bad. .net, not so bad, but irrelevant. And then you go back to example.com and then .com. So CDN have made the RFC 6844 algorithm bogus. So now slide 8, which shows what happens when you have the errata. And basically this cuts out some, but not all of the bogosity. So you have web.example.com, www.example.com. You still go off to the cdn.example.net, but you then don't chase the tree up any further. Then you do example.com and then .com. So that's what is in production today, because CAD form requires us to do the errata. And then we go to slide 9. The solution that has been proposed is to use a prefix record and just ignore the CNAME issue completely. So instead of the algorithm chasing CNAMEs at all, we don't do any of that. And instead, the discovery path will be web.example.com _ prefix.web.example.com, then www.example.com, prefix of the same, example.com, prefix of the same, and so on. So that means that you don't end up doing any bogus records. The only disadvantage is that you're doing slightly more lookups, but you know, this is CA work, this is validation. This is really not something that is a huge deal. So if we go to slide 10, which is the final one that I have, the remaining problem we then have is DNAME, and DNAME throws a spanner in the works in that the system that I just described is not compatible with DNAME. And there really is no way that you can make it compatible. And well, the only solution that I can think of is you just tell people not to do DNAME. The problem with DNAME is that you're not allowed any records underneath, number one. And number two, the specification says to weed out any nodes that are there. So there's a lot of infrastructure there that is going to ignore any labels under a DNAME. So you can't use the prefixing hash. So talking to DNS people, it sounds like DNAME doesn't work anyway for anything useful. So maybe we can just forget about it. And that's it.
Okay. So Jacob's in the queue after you, so I'm going to run over to him.
So to add a little context on DNAME, at Let's Encrypt, we did a scan of all the domain names we've issued to, and we found that out of about 40 million domain names, only 40 of them used DNAME at all. So I think, you know, if we find a solution that, you know, doesn't work with DNAME, that's okay. In terms of adding the prefix records, there's two things I wanted to discuss. You know, one, Philip suggested that, you know, if we implemented this prefix algorithm, you know, we wouldn't actually dereference CNAMEs. I think that's the wrong approach to take. I think the problem with RFC 6844 is it tried to reinvent the basic CNAME semantics for itself and specify different processing. I think whatever result we want should you know, follow normal CNAME semantics. So in other words, if you look up web.example.com using your recursive resolver, you're going to get back a result that includes following the CNAME chain, and you should process that in the normal way. So in other words, one of the records you'd get back would be from the CDN, or you know, whatever this CNAME target is. And I think that's not a misfeature. I think that's a, you know, what you want, in that the target of the CNAME is, you know, that's the canonical name of that domain and does have some say in what's authorized. I think there are some interesting questions here about CDNs setting hostile records with regards to their customers, but I think that does come down to the relationship between CDNs and their customers. At a higher level, I think there's this question of, okay, we took 4 years to finally implement CAA in production. We got agreement among CAs. It's actually out there and it's live for about 2 months now. As of September, it's mandatory for all CAs. So we're just now starting to see some of the real world implementation. So I think it would be a mistake to fundamentally change the discovery algorithm at this time. I think one approach we should probably take is revise the RFC such that we fix the bugs we found and it clarifies how to interpret the erratum and how to handle errors. And that way the CAB forum can refer to a specific standard stock that fixes those. And then independently pursue a more radical change that's likely to take more time to get adopted.
Go ahead, Phil. My first question would be, what is it you want to do with this current document?
So can I just respond to what Jacob said?
Yeah, please.
I've not got a problem with what he said. If people have a use for CNAME, I've got no problem with that. I was merely replying to precisely the set of requirements that I had seen, and I hadn't seen somebody saying that they wanted CNAME as well. So, following the CNAME for one hop seems reasonable to me, so I'm okay with that. As far as the document is concerned, how much processing we do on it depends upon what the algorithm we choose is. So what I wanted was the choice of algorithm first, and then write it up. The other choice, the other proposal that Jacob has made is to use TXT instead of the CAA record. I don't object to that at all, but I think there are people who might. So as far as the spec is concerned, I can write stuff up, but I need to know what to write.
Do you expect this group or the CAB forum to be the ones who actually are making the decision of what to do?
This group.
Okay.
I do not want the lawyers telling me. Plus, Komodo is not actually a member of the CAB forum right now.
Okay.
Or rather, Komodo CA is, CSS is not.
Okay. I'm going to switch over back to Jacob.
Yeah, so on the text record thing, I think somebody else may have proposed that. I'm actually in favor of keeping the CAA resource record type. It was a little bit of a pain at first because some networks reject it, but support has actually been pretty good. So I think there isn't a need to switch to text records for the main discovery. But I think there was some discussion around doing it for the underscore prefix. In terms of wordsmithing, like I mentioned, I actually have a draft and I'm willing to participate in actually authorship there. I think the next formal step, IETF process-wise, is to get that adopted as a working group document, and we can collaboratively iterate on it. And I'll definitely agree with something Phil said. The CAB forum doesn't want to be involved in specifying this. It's not a standard setting body. It's a body that adopts these things. I've been separately involved in encouraging CAB forum members to participate in the IETF in this process so they can have that input. I think that was it. I think there was something else Philip said I wanted to respond to, but I've forgotten it.
Yeah, I'll just plus one what Jacob said then. So if we go, take off, so we can, I've got no problem doing the joint authorship thing. So we'll just meet offline and merge our drafts or whatever.
Okay. Any input from the room?
Hi, this is Sean Turner. I think we shouldn't stand on process. If they're going to implement it and they found bugs and they wrote up a way that they're doing it now, we should document it to fix what we did wrong. It would seem silly that we wouldn't. If we have this way and the authors seem like they're actually agreeing with each other. So all we have to do is identify people that read it and could like agree to it in the IETF, right? So we have to find like one friendly DNS person in their mafia that will read this and tell us that they like are kind of okay with it, right? Because that's the one hurdle we're gonna have to get through. But it sounds like once they merge the thing, we should just adopt it.
Okay.
Oh, I just had a thought. Yeah, one of the things that I screwed up when we did the transition was that I didn't think about the transition to the errata. So folk got very upset with me. Should we go to documenting what we want to move to, or should we also document the errata version?
I don't know that I have an opinion on that. And does anybody else care about documenting the errata version instead of just saying this is what we should be doing?
Nah, just do it as a supersedes. Rich solves.
Okay.
Jacob?
Yeah, so my position is that we should document the errata version essentially, not literally with the errata text, because there were some infelicities in that as well. The simplification doc I have proposed implements the erratum algorithm, the one that's actually in production, but uses much simpler language with fewer ambiguities, basically by pulling out the parts that try to respecify CNAME. So I believe pretty strongly we should document what's in production, make an RFC for that supersedes the old one, and then move on to something that would fundamentally change the discovery process. But I think anything that's going to fundamentally change the discovery process should be motivated primarily by seeing how things have played out in production. And for instance, if people say, this algorithm, the erratum algorithm, isn't serving me correctly. I can't express this policy that's really important for me to express. And then we'll be able to decide, okay, is it worth the ecosystem disruption to fundamentally change the process again? And then we'll have, a long period of transition. But for now, I think we really want to land an RFC that supersedes the old one, specifies the erratum behavior in a really clear way, and maybe clears up some questions about how to handle errors.
So, Jacob, are you basically saying you don't see an immediate need to go to the proposed algorithm from Phil?
Yeah, that's correct. I think, there have been some hypothetical cases posed for it of policies that would be hard to express under the current proposal. But I'd like to see more real-world usage of people trying to work with the current system and finding ways that it doesn't work for them.
Okay. I'm not the actual chair, so I can't make any sort of actual final decisions. From a pure process point of view, we actually can't recharter until we get one document in and through the IESG. We got a document there now, so and it's actually through because you pushed the publish, so we can actually start that recharter process.
Hey, so this is Sean Turner. I guess I can get them, so I like the idea of a supersedes, but I'm not really super strongly in like one way or the other. If somebody has a really strong opinion, let's just go with that one and do it. Like get the errata out. It ought to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple to do. It shouldn't take years to get that version out the door. Let's just do it.
Phil, do you have a super strong opinion about this or not?
If we want to do it, let's do it.
Okay. So I think that what I'm hearing is we should get a new RC published with the errata version, and then potentially start working on a draft for fixing problems with that if we actually find any of it really strong.
You want to hum on that?
Do I want to hum on that,
Yeah.
Ecker?
Yeah, you should hum.
Okay. So let's question number one. Do people understand what we've been talking about? Yes? No. Okay. There's at least one person who thinks he does. Is there anyone who who believes that the solution of we publish the errata version as a new RSC, which supersedes the current one, and then look at doing a second draft? Do you want to proceed that way? Yes? No? Okay. So that sounds like a very weak opinion that yes, we should be doing that. Sounds like most people don't care about the problem itself. Okay. Thank you, Phil. So next thing up is shake.
Hello. At the last meeting, we adopted the new work items, and one of them was to specify shake for prefix. So here are the two OIDs NIST has specified for the two shakes. The shakes, they do have variable output length. However, for this purpose, we just need to fix the output length to 256 or 512 for the two shakes. So that would make things, simple and conformant with what we have been doing with prefix for more than a decade or so. And currently we are describing OIDs for DSA, ECDSA, and of course RSA. And here is the DSA. The exact numbers will be specified by NIST later. That it would be a very easy work for me to do. So right now we just put symbols X and Y for now, and those will be updated later. And the OIDs in the same category of the signature algorithms in the NIST org. And this is for ECDSA, and very similarly, the specific values will be specified later. And the all information about ECDSA specification is in the X962. All of the formats and the keys identifiers will be provided in our draft, in our document later. For now, we just put a placeholder in the draft. And this is something I don't know. Should we specify OIDs for both LSA standards or just only one of them? In some of the previous documents I saw, we specify both for PSS and BKCS 1.5. But as we all know, the 1.5 is the one people are actually using for PKIX. So I don't know what our group want to do. And any suggestions and comments to improve our draft, please send us emails or speak to the mic now or at any point.
Hi, Sean Turner again. Can we seriously drop the DSA stuff? I don't know anybody who's implemented it. The last time we went and tried to find out if anybody said that they used it, nobody said anything. I understand it was documented and it's like kind of been baggage that we've been carrying around. Do you know of people that really said that they needed it? And would they ever get to a microphone or send any message to the IETF left that say, yeah, I generated 10 certs with DSA signs? I mean, there might be people that did it, but if they didn't, can we just drop it?
Eric Griscorla, no hat. Yes, please, let us not have DSA any longer.
Jim, no hat. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, but again, most of the content actually from Sean's draft earlier, so we just copy. I just copied it, and fix the syntax.
So we did include it to be complete. So it's all listed there, and then we can reevaluate and say, do we really need to include them? And I think the answer really should be no, so that we can make it easier on everyone, and then people won't do silly things like use IANA registries to measure, implementations and how well they conform to all the things listed in the standard, because people don't do them that I'm aware, at least that I'm aware of.
Hi, Yavnir. Can you go back to slide number 4? That's the one with the DSA and so it says here that ID DSA with shake is number 3, and can you go forward one slide? So here it says that the ECDSA is also 3. So
what?
The same identifier?
No. The Y and the X and the Y.
Well, sure. The X and Y are different number, but is both DSA and ECDSA number 3?
Look at the last.
No, because they are. These are the list number for digital signature class. So that's 3.
Right, but then the next one on DSA is also 3.
The
Yeah.
previous one. Oh.
Yeah, but because we have been like that, we put all the signature in the same branch.
Yeah.
So
okay. So they're actually the same.
They're
the same
overloading
prefix.
tag.
Yeah. So basically,
the
so
X and Y are
for
different
example, the 4 numbers will be all different numbers. So YZ and Y prime, Z prime, something like that. Yeah, and
Jim Shad, no hat. I'm going to ask a really stupid question. Since shake is a variable length thing, is there any reason other than we don't like doing parameters not to more closely match the output of shake to the length of the key that we're using?
we could do parameter for the shakes, but this is an option to go consistent with what we have done in the past. But if the group want to do with the parameter length, then it would be fine as well. Yeah, in that case, then we have a variable length output. So either way would be fine. And what we put here is to be consistent with what we have done so far, and that we thought was the group wanted to do, but I would be happy to switch back to put a length indicator in there, and that would be just fine.
I guess this is Sean Turner, in deploying new algorithms, we should go for like the KISS approach, right? Like, let's just pick the ones that we know people would want if they were going to drop them in. If they're variable length, like, has anybody actually asked for them to be variable length?
We've never had this ability in the past.
Fair enough, but I mean, like, before we would just go off and specify like 20 values or whatever for the length of them, we probably should have somebody say that they wanted it first. So I think that like the idea was that these were going to be drop-ins, right? And so
just to more closely match the key size, so you fill it all the way up. If you're using like 128 with a 256-bit queue.
So I guess maybe I like lost track of it, but this only applies if you're doing DSA, right? So if we just follow Sean's suggestion previously, we can ignore this entire discussion, right?
Does it apply for ECDSA too?
Well, ECDSA keys are fixed size, so you could just require that the keys be expanded to the same size, right? So as a participant, not an AD, I propose we jettison DSA and hence these identifiers and hence this question, and require that for ECDSA they'd be same length.
And also there could be some case when people use a large curve and they want the faster hash, and that's why variable length could be useful in that case too.
I'm not following.
For example, you use like curve like 220 or 521, for example.
Yeah.
And you use shake 128.
Well, I'm not objecting. No, I'm just saying. But yes, but then you should make that. Then just why not simply use shake up to the size of I mean, why not just keep applying it multiple times?
Yeah, I know that okay. The shake 256 would be best and would be better used, but I'm just in theory. Somebody wants something strange like that.
No, I guess what I'm suggesting. I mean, maybe I've just like lost track of how these OIDs work in these days. But like, are the OIDs not bound to the curves?
No, they are not bound to the curve.
Oh, that's like super unfortunate.
That was the but it's okay. I think
they're bound to the hash algorithm, but not the curve.
I think fixed length would be just fine. But the whole idea of the shake variable length originally was to building the whole symmetric crypto core in one thing. Because in any case, if you run a system, you need a random number generation, right? And you want to be efficient. And in different applications, you might want different sizes. So that's why the reason to design something with variable output length, because it could be used for many different things. That's the beauty of it. But in order to utilize all those beauties, we need to define a new application, new scenario, something big, something something new in order to use that. But we are using the popular standards right now, so it's.
I'm not against shake.
Yep.
Okay. Any more questions on this presentation?
So, one question, Jim. So my understanding is that you requested me to drop DSA in the next version, right?
That would be my personal opinion, yes.
Okay, but I just want to be confirmed. Okay. So the next draft is the CMS syntax and using the shake function with signatures and MAC. So right now in this draft, there's no DSA. And I use the Rust house list draft, and I just changed to the shake instead of SHA-3. And right now we have BKCS number 1.5, and we have ECDSA and KMAC which is a Mac function using the shakes. So the same OIDs for the shakes. We just explained in the previous talk. So that's a BKCS number 1 version 1.5, and the same thing X and Y will be provided later. And the same with ECDSA. And then for the shake, instead of doing the HMAC, we just use a normal shake. With in this specification, we have a fixed output length for the tag, and we use the shake specified in our in the NIST FIPS 185, and it's very simple and is efficient. And that is the way how to do macking with shakes. So my understanding is that the first item will not be there. And any questions, comments, and help me to make the draft better and more useful for everybody.
Okay, Sean Leonard. So despite, I guess, what the room said, I think adding DSA to shakes is okay. So I'm just skeptical that it shouldn't be there. That's all I wanted to say. That it's not unanimous that it should be out. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Because he said something different, so I don't know what you would like me to do or what the group decided would like me to do regarding to that thing.
Okay. For the people in the room, DSA stays, yes? DSA goes. I think that's a pretty conclusive opinion.
All right.
The room, at least. I mean, my recommendation would be take it out now. People can always object on the list if they want it back in.
Okay. So we are going to update the drafts, and from now, if people have more comments for us, just send us emails, and we will try to make the draft better.
Wrap up. So we should be starting a charter discussion relatively soon. There is a candidate charter which I have not read, is in my mailbox. But it's not clear exactly how soon that's going to start. Russ is going into surgery tomorrow, and he has an expected 5 to 6 week recovery period after that. So I'm not too sure how much he's going to be active between now and Christmas. So we'll see what happens in terms of that. But we will definitely try to get the current documents done. That should not take any additional cycles from him, as they have all been basically pushed out of the working group and on to the authors and the ADs. And then we'll see where we go from there. So if there is any other business, any questions anyone wants to ask? Thank you for your time. If you haven't signed blue sheets, sign blue sheets, please.
Minutes completed.
All right.
screen share?
Oh, yeah, sure. I can take a shot at it.
Were you Mark?
Ace. We rotated Ace chair, so we'll see what happens on that.
That's right. Yeah, that's okay with that. Cool. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll move these into the update.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how much of the charter rate is pushed out
I
yet.
haven't really looked, to be honest.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah,
my
okay, I think this is that I've seen it.
Yeah, all across manager.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna try to run through the memos.
Last Jim of that.
It'll be okay.
Hey Jim, would you like me to take these to the secretary?
Actually, no, wait. I think I can't. I think they've screwed us and we can't do it either. So I think, yeah, this is very good. Right.
Would you like me to take your?
Okay, because you are not the chair, you don't care. Yeah, this is fifth one, this fifth one. Again.
So, no, I just, there's something going on. That's okay.
If I have
Quickly.
Oh. I think I
don't have much of that.
It's like protecting against the text.
Oh, okay, sure. The short story is that in dispatch, they're adding. They're trying to
It's off to the plenary.